Did you know that there is a course called Women Who Lead where you get to spend hours with me learning how to make every interaction safe, logical, fun, and memorable? Doesn't that sound like a great way to spend some time? It will put tools in your tool belt that will change your trajectory. Give it a shot. Go to www.aimwithus.com and click on courses. I can't wait to see you there.
Welcome to Productive Joy with Dr. Christie, where fun meets action.
Hi, friends. Welcome to Productive Joy. We are going to have so much fun today. I know I say that all the time, but I genuinely mean it. And today will certainly not be an exception to that rule with my new friend, Dr. Linka. But before I introduce her to you, I would love for you to follow this podcast. It helps so much for so many different reasons. The biggest one being you'll get alerted when great people like Dr. Linka join us. And so you don't ever have to miss another episode. So do me that favor and make sure that you are following and sending it to all your friends, because we all need a little more productive joy in our lives for sure. So I do have a fabulous guest with me today. Dr. Lenka Schulze is a lot of things. She will start with the fact that she's an author, but she's also a nature lover who specifically loves to hike. She loves to travel, especially when she can explore the unknown, places that maybe everybody else doesn't go. She also loves to rediscover things like the truth, which I think might lead us into some really fascinating conversations. She's a mom and she's a stepmom, and she is a guest on Productive Joy today. So welcome, Dr. Linka, to Productive Joy.
Thank you so much, Christy. Yes, that's a handful, like listening about myself. So
right? It's a lot of things. Like I'm a lot of things, and you are a lot of things, and you're going to bring such wealth and a wealth of knowledge to our people today. So let's start with that. If you could tell us in like 30 seconds why we should all listen to this episode, what would you tell us?
I am very passionate about bringing things that is very obvious, but not necessarily tangible, which is intuition. And intuition holds power beyond our imagination. It has no boundaries. It allows us to time travel. And it is the guiding light. It's our internal GPS that will guide us to our truth. And if we are not aware of it, we're missing out. And so if anyone is interested in this topic, they do not want to miss it.
Oh, definitely not. And I'm already so intrigued. So the name of your book is actually Intuition, right? There's more to it than that. And I know you've studied that extensively, but you didn't start there, right? Like you ended up there and you're there now. But what led you? You can talk about little Linka before you were a doctor, or you can talk about teenage version or today. But what led you to this journey of figuring out how our intuition shapes us?
It's a good question. And I pondered on that for a very long time myself, because I was literally fighting that aspect of myself because it is not easily understandable. A lot of people have polarization views of that word. And once I finally realized, okay, it is part of me, I can't separate that. I need to embrace it. So I started digging like, okay, where did this started? Well, I think once you kind of dig into intuition, you realize that it's not something special. It is our first sense, not the sixth sense. It is our birthright. We all have it. And some people develop it more than others. There is a certain almost like a steps into seeing like, okay, that person is more intuitive and this is why. So for example, I feel that my intuitive senses were more developed because I grew up in a communist country where we did not have the BS, the belief system of religion poured in us the other way around. Be punished if we would believe in religion. So as I believe that we are natural inquisitive beings, and I started digging into something that would fill my bucket, and that was anything that you can explain. And around us, when I was growing up, there were the healers, there were the tarot card readers, the gypsies that had all these fun things that I explore. So that was my childhood. And from that, it just opened up kind of a can of worms, and I want to know more. But then, of course, when I became in the adult, you kind of put that aside and do the human stuff. And then I remember one time I got invited, and I'm sitting in this kind of gathering. It was like, I think 150 people there, and I felt home. And I was one of these ladies who pretty much was saying the same thing I'm saying now. And I felt like, oh, I'm back. And what does
Nice.
that mean? I didn't even know what that meant because I had it kind of hanging on a hanger for so long. So I started kind of digging into everything that was interesting. And, frustration was part of that growth because you wanted to make it something worthy, but you don't know where that is. If it's tarot cards, if it's pendulum work, is it medical intuitive, which that's kind of what I did for a long time. Then you have other parts of intuitive work that people do. And I started realizing that I enjoy all of it. And so why not study it all?
Yeah.
And here I am today realizing that this is a subject that not many people really talking about. They are good at one aspect of it, but they don't realize that there's just so many different facets of it. And we are multifaceted beings. So we have all these intuitive senses in us and these gifts in us. It just depends on how we rediscovering them and versus like trying to learn something. It's in us. It's like relearning them.
Well, and that goes back to your introduction and saying that you like to rediscover truths, that they were in there to begin with. To back up a second, you mentioned that intuition tends to be polarizing, meaning understanding of intuition, expectations of intuition. What do you think causes people to be on one side or the other of the idea of intuition?
There's still, because intuition is word, right? It has other words like it, like, for example, psychic. And so there's still groups of beings, like groups of people who still think this is something bad.
Gotcha.
Tapping into something in that world is bad. That's what I'm talking about, polarization. I didn't really realize it until I came across it. And I was completely shocked that that is still in 2025 a case.
Well, I think people are often afraid of the unknown, right? When we don't understand something, we tend to shy away from it rather than asking questions. And I know by nature, I'm very curious. I'm a curious person. I want to know, I want to understand. Tell me more, right? Like help me understand things. But I don't think that's as natural as maybe I thought it was, just because it's all I know. I think some people really take comfort in the familiar and that I understand this. And if I don't understand that, I'm not going to entertain it at all. And as humans, I think we need to learn things and then make decisions for ourselves after we've made some of those learnings. So that's why I asked the question. I think it's interesting to learn. Like we should, by nature, we are learners. And that's really where my areas of expertise lie. I'm in the educational space. And I understand that our brains desperately need information, and that, like you said, is part of the puzzle, right? Then there's also the soul and the who we are that come alongside that mind. It's very fascinating, very, very fascinating stuff. So to back up to rediscovering the truths, can you explain a rediscovering of truth that has happened to you at some point in this journey?
Just going with your expertise, which is education, the educational system is not based necessarily on intuition.
Oh, heavens no.
So it is something that is actually clashing because intuitive senses does not necessarily need reasoning. It's good to have once you are trying to establish something for the polarized world, right? For the world of duality. Because, for example, if you have an intuitive hit, and you making some serious decision for a company or even a doctor or nurses, you have to back up with something else. Right. So, for example, the medical intuition is something that you get a hit, right? Oh, I think you should look at this particular part of your body, but go have it looked at. Don't go out there and cut your appendix out just because I said so. So that's kind of where those two parts of us goes together. The intuitive part is helping us to then rationalize what we are trying to do in life. But going back to the education, it is also that whole, we are all intelligent. We are born intelligent, but then we have the intellect.
Yeah. Oh,
The-
yeah. That's a good distinction. Yes.
And so the intellect will take you only so far.
Yeah.
And so after that, it's the evolution. So as long as we think that we are smarter than our children, we are not allowing them to step over and grow, right? So for example, this is just my intuitive understanding of things, that if you have two people and you making a baby, the baby is going to take the best part of you, the best part of the other side, right? Making a baby.
Yeah.
And then will be the best version of you.
Yes.
So why don't you even think that they're not going to be smarter than you? Just get out of the way.
Yeah.
So stop educating them. Stop telling them this is a pen and this is a glasses. Let them figure it out.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, especially nature. So it's like talking about rediscovering truth, is that, you know, when we tell a child, oh, here's a dandelion and it's a weed, we stop right there. But that's not the truth, is it? It's herb. It is a healing herb. It has so many components from the root all the way to the flower. So do we tell that to our children? No, we tell them already something and they stop learning. And that is part of the intuitive senses, like let them figure it out.
Yeah.
Maybe they know something intuitively that can teach us and evolve from here. And so,
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
so when we open up that kind of realm of allowing ourselves, even not just our children, just ourselves, to forget everything we know and start fresh. Like, okay, let me see if I learned something else in that. It's almost like when I go to yoga and I always hear the yoga instructor, act today on the mat as you came here first time ever. Like, don't beat yourself up just because that pose you did so great last time.
Yeah. Yeah. Giving yourself the freedom to explore and to learn things for the first time. So I just recently had an experience where I was with some people who had been doing things a very specific way for many, 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 many years. And it's not that their way is wrong. Their way has not changed in a long time. And so this is a volunteer group and they are living in the space of this is the way we've always done it, right? Well, the problem is that they're getting older. And as they get older and move on, there's nobody to pick up the volunteer organization from them, right? Because they haven't allowed anything to shift over time because they're comfortable. And I think by nature, many of us have that comfort in repetition, comfort in routine, comfort in understanding and knowing. But what I'm hearing you say, Dr. Linka, is that we need to open our minds to what it could be instead of assuming we already understand. I love your analogy about the dandelion because if I was taught that it was a weed, I might tell my children the same. But if you were taught that it is an herb, you're going to teach your children the same. And we're doing the best we can with what we have, right? But we've got to open our minds to allowing there to be new truths and new ways of looking at things. Otherwise, we stop growth, right? Is that kind of an accurate?
Yes. And, you know, it's going back to the dandelion, you know, that's, again, not even the truth. The truth is another level, which is that particular herb in a shamanism world has a spirit. That spirit is also capable of healing your spirit. And so we can go on. And then it's connected to a certain planetary, you know, systems. And so it's like we can just go on and on and on. It just depends on our level of consciousness. And every single level is truth at that point in time. Yeah. And as we go, we need to see that the only way we evolve is to step away from what we know and know that that was not a lie. It was truth at that time. But now I learned something else, building on it. Yeah. But like you were saying, so many people are so afraid of saying, oh, I cannot do something different because that would mean this one was wrong. It wasn't wrong. It's just different. Yeah. And yeah, we do get stuck in our own habits. Yeah. And that's what devolution means.
Oh, there's a good word for you. As I think about this, I'm thinking about our listeners and I'm thinking, these are leaders in one capacity or another who really want to create more productive joy. They want there to be space for people to flourish and grow and do really amazing things. And what I just heard and I appreciate is just because that's the way you've always done it and now you're going to change how you do it does not mean the old way was wrong. It just means that there's new information that allows us to approach that differently. I would love to hear how you would describe productive joy. If that's the thing that I'm saying we're attempting to look for, how would you describe it from your point of view?
I love the word joy, by the way, and I'm very familiar with Dr. David Hawkins' work. Are you familiar with him?
A little, but tell us more.
Okay, so he's known mainly by the book Power versus Force. He has many. I love them all. But one thing that he's known for, he created a map of consciousness. It's something like this. And listeners can Google that map of consciousness. And so when I looked at it, joy is, to his finding, vibrating on the level 540. Okay. So it is one of the highest level of
Okay.
vibration. And then, he talks about that the emotion of joy is serenity,
Mm.
process is transfiguration, life view is complete, and I love this one, the God's view is oneness.
Oh,
One.
interesting. And
So
it's all for
joy,
joy, right?
great. So joy will not be found easily again in the dualistic world where we have good and bad and black and white and Democrat, Republican. That's not where joy is. We have to
Mm.
step outside of that and rediscover that joy within us from it is whatever it is. Start with that. It is whatever it is. We are all the same. Not okay, now I shouldn't say that. We're all unique. We are not the same. We're all unique and we have to allow others to be as well versus constantly putting them in some kind of box so we feel more comfortable. Like you
Oh,
said, we are scared of the things that we don't understand. So education, where you come in, is very important of rediscovering what joy actually is.
mhm.
It is the transfiguration, right, of the sincere oneness, the really like there's no difference between me and you in that ways. We are having so much more in common than we don't.
Well, and wouldn't this world be a pretty beautiful place if we would look for the commonalities instead of the differences? And if we would find ways to understand our fellow man instead of judging them for thinking differently? I think there is power in that. To me, that's productive joy, right? I love your definition and thank you for bringing in the research behind it. I think where I get excited is recognizing that, 120 episodes in, and 60 plus guests, I have discovered that there isn't one answer and that we're all just trying to do the best with what we have. And that's what you're helping people do. So if someone were to pick up your book, what would they gain from the experience of reading it? What sorts of box breaking experiences would they have?
There's a plenty of books out there about intuition and from also people who dedicated years, decades, lifetimes to bring the education of intuition forward. For me, my book is more kind of a practical aspect of it, how you can bring the intuition more into your life, how you can discern from the deception, how can you see the truth or feel the truth, how intuition speaks to you, how intuition is recognized, what intuition is not. And then I have some exercises in the back to assist you into kind of raising the consciousness, because as you raise the consciousness or elevate yourself and your consciousness, you're going to also tap into the other levels of consciousness, not just the survival or kind of like, I need to make a business deal because that's what level, but it's important. I mean, that's the gift of
Yeah.
if you are going into some kind of a business deal or having a difficult conversations, and if you bring that intuitive senses and sense, where is this going? Where is this person coming from? That's all intuition. We all have that ability, but if we know it it will make it easier for all of us.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing what you've learned and what you know and what you've rediscovered with the world, right? You could have said, okay, I've learned these things. That's great. And I'm going to keep them to myself. But you didn't. You said, you know what? I'm not only going to put it out there, I'm going to put it out there in a way that people can digest and learn from and then ask questions of. And I think there is not only power in that, but you are meeting your moral imperatives by not hiding all of that. And I think that's wonderful. So, how might somebody find you if they wanted more of Dr. Linka in their lives? How might they find you?
I am available on lenka.org. That's where I'm trying to put all my information out. I have actually 2 books. This is my second book. The first one is Journey of You, and it's a book more about my journey, how I started, but also the journey of healing, because we are all on the journey of healing, all of us.
Hmm.
And I'm sharing mine and how that was also part of the intuitive process. And how did they find me? I think that's the best way, to lenka.org, and all my social media buttons are there. And I am planning to do more workshops online. I feel that the online versions of ourselves can reach more people.
Definitely. And so Linka is spelled Lenka for those of you that are not looking at this right now. And I have looked and I have seen some beautiful things. You are putting out a very clear brand, and I know you're helping people. And we're so lucky to have had your expertise and experience here and have gotten to learn from you, which is pretty great. So I have to ask, well, I don't have to. I'm choosing to ask some rapid fire questions because they make me excited and I love to hear your answers. Would you be willing to answer those for me? Okay. Question number 1. What is your definition of fun?
Fun is something that you don't even think about. It's just that you step into that quantum field and immediately are energized by energy that is just alive.
I love that. Okay. Perfect answer. Next question. How do you know that you are showing up as your authentic self?
By my feelings.
Yeah. They'll let you know if you listen to them. Good answer. Good answer. Okay. How do you channel your best self on your worst days?
Be authentic.
Mhm. So you're going back to those feelings and saying, all right, what am I feeling right now? And why am I feeling this? And what can I do with this information? Right? Because it's all information. We need to get.
I feel that answer is, the question is very good, because a lot of people feel if you are feeling down that you need to show up with a phony niceness. And the intuitive people can feel that, and it feels like a prickly hedgehog.
Oh,
So
yeah.
trying to be nice, and you will feel that people are stepping away from you, and you are so confused because you're so nice. So versus saying, you know what, I had a really bad day. I don't want to offend anyone. It's just maybe just take it for granted today. That's
Yeah.
all. And that way people will understand that.
Well, that's knowing yourself, right? I had a guest recently who said that what he does on his worst days is he protects himself from people so that he does not project that bad mood, that bad feeling on others. And I think that's very self-aware, right? Like we need to recognize I am not my best self today. This is not cute. Like whatever's happening here is not something anybody else should be subjected to. And then protecting those humans, because in my opinion, it is our moral imperative as human beings to take care of the people around us, right? I'm not saying that toxic positivity is the right thing or anything like that. It's just our job to care for those who have been placed in our space. And so that's, to me, what you just said is, yeah, I'm having a bad day. I'm not going to be toxically kind to you. I'm just going to tell you, I'm not feeling it today. So I'm going to be over here and you continue on your way and I'm not going to get in your way. I love that. That makes good sense.
How I would explain it too is a quantum field, like we talked about the oneness. If people really understand oneness, you can't protect yourself from somebody negative. You just really can't. It's just a mesh of feeling. But if we bring clarity into it, especially children can feel it. You know, those times where you tried so hard to hold your together, you know,
Yes.
like your stuff together, and then your kids are just like complete volcanoes, and
Yeah.
you're like, what? Because they feel the white elephant in the room.
Yeah.
So you cannot protect them from your energy, but you can just say, mommy's having a really, really off day. So they know now, oh, okay, the feeling, it's just that.
Yeah.
And they can work with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense because instead of hiding what we really feel, we're allowing that to be real, right? I think sometimes we think we have to wear a mask all the time. And the reality is that that's suffocating. So at some point, you need to be able to be like, yeah, no, not today. Like this is this is
And
not something I can produce today. I'm so sorry, but that's not what you're going to get. You're not going to get the best version of me today. I love it. I knew that would be a great question for you. I'm really glad that you answered it. All right, so this one's going to be hard because you've said a lot of really brilliant things, but people by nature, their brains can really only hold on to one major thing at a time. And so from our last 30 minutes, what's the major takeaway that you would like our audience to hear so that they can create a little more productive joy in their space?
I would like to say that people cannot forget that we are divine sovereign beings. We are more than our physical bodies. And if I will spiral it back to intuition, our heart is capable of sensing things 6 seconds before the brain.
Hmm.
And if you want to follow up on that, that's information coming from Heart Institute. And that is where I would like to people end with, because the feelings are really, truly powerful, powerful gifts. And so many of us are so afraid of our own feelings and feelings of others. But if we can start realizing that there is intuitive senses in that, and we are all one, we are all on the same journey, there's no need to judge one another. And we are so much more than our physical selves.
Oh, I love that. Well, and I love the reminder that we do need to trust those feelings, those intuitions, those that our heart, because it's informed before our head. That makes all the sense in the world. And you know, you hear people say gut feeling and all that kind of stuff. That's really it's right. It's the thing that you feel before you even know anything. Yeah, that's powerful. Well, Dr. Linka, you were a pleasure. And I know that our Productive Joy audience really enjoyed what you had to share today. And I know you could have been doing any number of other things, but you chose to be with us. So thank you for sharing your brilliance on Productive Joy.
It was my pleasure. And thank you so much for hosting me.
Yay, it was just downright fun. And so friends, you've listened, you've learned, you need to go look her up if you want to explore a little bit more, because our whole purpose in being here together is that we figure out how to have a little more productive joy in our lives. And that productive joy needs to somehow turn fun into action.